Hi,
Hi, Natalie.
how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you?
Good. I'm doing okay, as best as we can during this time, I think, but
hmm
I'm hanging in there and I'm glad that you wanted to do this. I'm loving the interviews that you had with everybody else, so it's been
Oh,
really
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been loving talking to everyone. And for those of you joining who don't know, I have just decided to interview some fine arts industry professionals and just to keep the conversation going about the arts and how important they are. And Natalie and I met, was it 2 years ago now?
I think so. It was a while ago. And it seems a part of me feels like it wasn't that long ago, but I like now that everything's just been like kind of at a standstill. Yeah, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, maybe two, but yeah.
Yeah. So, Natalie, can you just introduce yourself and talk
Yes,
about your career and how you got to where you are?
absolutely. Sorry, I'm a little shaky. I like had to charge my phone before I
Oh,
sat down.
you're good.
Okay, I'm Natalie Frakes, and I am a violinist and a music educator and a teaching artist, and have a few other roles in my life. But currently, I am teaching at Cornerstone Health and Technology High School in Detroit as a choir and music appreciation teacher. And I work as a teaching artist with some programs such as Sphinx Organization. And I also conduct the Sinfonia strings for Detroit Metropolitan Youth Symphony. Sorry. um, but I'm a freelance violinist as well, and I contract orchestras, and I love to play my instrument. And yeah, and just as you do, Larissa, we gig around, so do that whole thing. But other than that, I've just been teaching a ton right now, and yeah.
Yeah. And how did you start the violin and how did your love of music, start off?
I started playing violin as a Suzuki student when I was 4, and I started with Pat Ryder in Dearborn, and she is actually the mother of Megan Crawford, who plays in the Grand Rapids Symphony. So I know Megan, and I've actually been taught by Megan before years ago when I remember Pat had to. I think she was doing like a Suzuki camp or something, and
hmm
I wasn't there for that, but so I know Megan and Jamie, and I've heard lots of things about their children from Pat over the years. And I hope, by the way, I hope Pat's doing well. Just giving her a shout out. I know that she was in the hospital for a little bit, and but I think she's back and she's okay. But I started with her and I played with her for a long, long time. And then I went to college and studied with Dr. Laura Roloffs, who is concertmaster of the MOT. And and then I was really fortunate to do a lot of really cool things when I was in college at Wayne State. And yeah, I guess, just kind of lifted off from there. Had so many really awesome opportunities while I was living in Detroit. But
hmm
yeah,
Yeah, Megan Crawford mentioned to me that she knew you and she was excited we were talking.
yeah,
So
it's
it's fun.
such a small world. It's
It
cool.
is. Yeah. Can you just describe the Sphinx organization for all my listeners who may not know about it?
For sure. So Sphinx is an NGO that is based here in Detroit, that provides um, or wants to, I guess, like equalize the playing field of classical music and promote diversity in classical music through initiatives that involve the African American populations and Latinx. So, or Latino, I would say. So, but yeah, Sphinx does some really awesome things like provide free violin lessons to students in Detroit and Flint, as well as other places. and has a huge competition, which is how it started. A competition that's for young Black and Latino musicians. They have two divisions, and that's always really cool to see every year. But that's Sphinx, yeah.
And how are you specifically connected with them? Do you teach
I'm
students?
I'm an overture teacher in Flint. I haven't
Okay.
seen my students, unfortunately, since February, but
Hmm.
there are a lot of really cool teachers that are putting together videos, and hopefully, I actually just got done making a really cool series with a friend, Tegan Farron, for University Musical Society, and it's a lesson series that's diversity in classical music. So yeah, hopefully I can send it out to my students when the time comes when that comes out. So that should
Hmm.
be cool. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Um, and for you specifically with your music, I know we don't know each other super well, but I've seen some of your postings, and I think that you have just done so many things and have such a range of performance experiences. Can you talk a little bit about what your range has been within playing the violin?
Yeah. So when I was in college, I was really fortunate to have some really cool opportunities performing different genres that were not classical music.
Hmm.
Um, and well, so for one, there was a group that we had started called the New Music Collective that and our we really specifically worked to perform new music by composers in the Detroit area, and that was a really cool thing. So I see that Nick had joined, and he was actually a big proponent in that scene. And he started this thing called Bring Your Own Beethoven, or Bring Your Own Bach, I'm sorry, BYOB. That was like a monthly series of presenting new music by composers from the area. And so that kind of spanned classical music, but then like it was jazz, it was like I would say like leaned on the side of like indie rock and pop music
Hmm.
that were played. It was pure instrumental music, but yeah, so like just like being exposed to so many different genres and so many different types of musicians when I was going to college really shaped me. And I think I've always loved many different kinds of music. So um, I've I've I feel like I've kind of like ingrained that into my career and want to have versatility as a musician. I think that's super important, and I also think that's really important when you're teaching students as well.
Hmm.
Um, I yeah, and then I've just I don't know how it happened, Larissa. Just like everything just like kind of fell into place, and I started playing with a group called New Classica, and that kind of opened a lot of doors. And then from there, I was getting calls to do things like playing playing Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and then it kind of just lifted off, and
Hmm.
had a really um, have been really fortunate to be able to play with so many different people and do so many different things. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. It's like because like people have their niche, but like I don't know what maybe I don't know what my niche is. Like I think I might have like a little corner, but um yeah. So it's been a ride. It's been cool.
Yeah. Out of all of your experiences, do you have a favorite project that you have been able to work on?
Sorry, I wanted to turn on the internet. My favorite project. Whew, that's really hard. Actually, um, something recent that has come up and unfortunately just got nipped in the bud um, because of COVID. I have some friends, and we formed a quartet and had played some like event gigs together. And I was just like, okay, cool. I think that we need to perform some classical music that we want to perform and that hasn't really been performed that often. So I had organized a couple of concerts for us to do, actually first premiere 2 pieces by some of my really good friends, and then to also play some new music by Mark Mellitz and Nico Muley. So, and then the next concert we were going to play Philip Glass, and it was going to be kind of cool, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But we'll see. I think we're going to try to get a video out on that. That has been my favorite project so far. But yeah, I just like, that's a really hard question. I think I want to add a couple more.
You can totally do that.
Yeah.
You can totally do
I don't know, like what, let me think about that. And then like, while I'm thinking, can you tell us what your favorite project has been to work on?
Oh yeah. I same as you. I don't know if I have a favorite, so I'll say a few. I think with my violin and my career, it was something that I didn't know I really wanted to pursue until I was in high school, like a senior in high school. And I was like, wow, this is something, I love music and I can't see myself not pursuing this. So that's when I initially was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But I never imagined that I would, like, right out of college, work for a symphony in management, and then like play with the Who, which is like a famous rock band. Yeah. I never in my entire life would I have imagined some of the opportunities that I've been able to pursue with my instrument. And I think just that in and of itself, like being involved in high, caliber ensembles and meeting so many different people from different backgrounds and playing jazz and playing classical, playing rock. And I think that kind of sums up my love of doing this. I think the diversity and just being able to do so many things that I never thought was possible and meeting so many amazing people. But a few of my top things that I love about what I'm doing right now are working with the Mosaic Scholars, which is how we actually connected.
I love you guys.
Yeah. So Jill Collier-Warren knows you, and she is the teaching instructor of the Grand Rapids Symphony Mosaic Scholars, and then I oversee that program management-wise. And just working with those kids and seeing how music impacts their lives, I think that is just so amazing to me.
Yeah.
So that's my long answer to that question.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna piggyback on that, and I think some of my proudest moments have been working in education, and I continue to keep teaching because I can't see myself not teaching. I've just fallen into it and found that I was really, really good at it and loved it, and it keeps me going. But I'll say one of my favorite projects was actually when I was teaching orchestra in Oxford, we did a concert that featured the band that I was playing in. I'm sorry. Can you see that? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so that was really cool to have. It was the entire orchestra program in the district, and we got together and did that. That was really cool. And then another project, I was working with Accent Pontiac for a little bit, for a couple years or a year, and working with those kids was amazing, and having that opportunity is really, really near and dear to my heart. But and then I guess the craziest project that I've done has been being able to play Aretha Franklin's funeral. That was
wow.
I think that was the most shocking thing that was like, I was part of that. That was a huge honor and was super, super fun. So yeah. I guess
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah. Um, I just thought of another question. Um, because you do work with quite a few kids, do you have any really funny stories about, for instance, I have a super funny story about teaching a violin lesson, and one of my students was so excited she learned a new song, and she spun around in a circle and accidentally threw her violin across the
Oh my
room,
gosh.
like 10 feet across the room. And we're
Hmm.
just looking at each other, dying of laughter, because it was just like, what? Do you have any weird stories with students, or even maybe not students, maybe a performance where something just happened and it was really unexpected?
Okay, yeah. So okay, I'll start with, I have a few that come to mind right now. I think it was my first year teaching, and I was and we were at festival, and this was definitely funny on me. It was not the kids. But they really held it together, and it was funny. So I was walking on stage, and I think I had my heel like got caught in my dress,
Oh no.
and I remember one of the students, and it was like right at the beginning, and we hadn't started playing yet, and it was the concert orchestra. And one of the students, I remember his name was Andrew, and he was sitting first chair cello, and he was like, Miss Frakes, Miss Frakes, and I completely ignored him because what's going on, like whatever. And he was gonna tell me that my heel was caught in my dress, and I tripped like onto the stand, onto the podium, and it was more than a trip. Like I basically halfway fell, but like caught my balance. And I think there's a video of it somewhere. It'd be funny to watch it, but that was funny. And then and then I think my earring fell off or something. And like, I just remember all the kids were like watching the earring like roll across the floor in a quiet house at the beginning of festival before we even started playing. That was a funny, that was hilarious. That was just very, just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And then I guess this past year, one of my choir students was sitting down at the piano bench and started playing, and we were all warming up because I had a couple of pianists in the class, and we started doing that exercise like ha 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 ho ho, just like for breathing, and he was doing it on piano, and it goes bum 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 bum, and you just hear this crash, and he broke the piano bench. He
Oh
just straight up broke
no.
it. Yeah, and that was one of the funniest things that happened this year. I think that was hilarious. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
super funny.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Um, with Speaking of the virus and COVID-19, have you been able to teach online, and how is that going for you?
Yeah, um I've been really fortunate for a couple of initiatives that are doing some online work. So one of them is the Hyde Park Suzuki Institute, and I was onboarded, and I recruited a bunch of kids and offered a music theory class. So every Tuesday, since COVID has happened, I've been teaching this beginner music theory and intermediate music theory. Not specifically for string players, but we have a lot of string players in there because it's like working on applying theory to your instrument. And yeah, I've done that, and that's been really cool. It's been consistent. And then I had convinced a lot of my students, my private students, at the beginning of all of this. I was like, this is only going to get worse. I mean, I was like, I don't mean to scare you, but we need to do private lessons and just like
Hmm.
pretend like everything is going to be normal in the fall. So let's keep working, and we
Hmm.
can do it and test it out and see how it goes. But yeah, I've been loving that. So it's been
Hmm.
cool.
That music theory class sounds really interesting. That's one thing I wish that when I started my music education in college, I didn't have a lot of background in music theory, and it was something that I kind of struggled with. And
Right.
I think that I have tried to implement that a lot with my private students. So I would be, maybe we should connect later because I'd love to hear more
Yes.
about how you're
Love
doing
to tell
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you and fill you in. It's been awesome because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, what is something that I can offer that's like kind of unique and I can do? Like, I was just thinking a lot about like entering college and being like,
Hmm.
music theory entrance exams. Like, what is this even? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so I'd love to talk about that with you. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, um, kind of on the flip side of that, I do have quite a few followers on my Instagram account that are students or that have recently graduated from high school. And
Amazing.
um, I wonder if you have any advice for those individuals who are interested in pursuing music as a career. What, if you were looking back on your life, what kind of advice would you give?
Hmm. Um, Honestly, the thing that I would, if they're young, get started. If you know you want to go into music, get started on filling your brain with as much musical knowledge as possible and pedagogy and experience, because um, that's really, really going to follow you for the rest of your life. Like, I remember having to make up for a lot of what was lost because I didn't necessarily dive into it. I did a lot of other things. Um, but if had I maybe focused a little bit more on music like I kind of do now, I think that I would have been like way ahead of my game. So yeah, so if you're young, if you're in ninth grade, like learn music theory now, do it now. Learn another instrument now. Like if you're a violinist, play viola too. Who cares? You know, don't let anybody tell you no. That's another thing. If you want to make your own music, make your own music. You know, don't let a teacher tell you that you can't, um, that you're like you can't do that because it's not something that they believe is the way to go, I guess. Um, what else? Um, Again, stay versatile. Always, if you have an opportunity, um, and you've never done that before, like literally just don't be scared to get your feet wet. I remember my first time performing with a click track, and it was a huge show, and it freaked me out. I was like, I've never done this before, but you have to do it. There's a first time for everything, so you have to just do it, and then the opportunities just happen. It's just, I don't know what it is, but um, once you start doing those things, people notice, and lots of opportunities start coming your way. So just go for it. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Yeah. Um, we had that one audience question come in. I think, was that from one of your students?
Yes, that was from Jabez, silly boy. He was a student that I had taught for a couple of years when I was teaching at the MSU Community Music School in Detroit. And
Hmm.
he's an awesome, very, very talented cellist. So Jabez, I haven't seen him come in. I've seen a couple of other people come in, some students of mine and a couple of
Yeah.
friends. So thanks for watching briefly. Yeah, Jabez is, I'll give you a shout out, Jabez. Yes, I miss teaching you guys. Of course I do. Um, but I'm sure our paths will cross soon again.
Hmm.
Yeah, was that the only question?
Yeah, that was the only question. If you guys want, there are a few people watching now. If you have any questions for Natalie, definitely drop those below. Um, I'm reading through your bio again,
Mm,
and I'm wondering if you could talk about El Sistema.
okay, yeah. So um, I guess El Sistema was something that I was very, very intrigued with when I was in college because I was teaching students from Detroit through a program called String Project at Wayne. RIP, we were alive. I think that organization was around for 7 years and was fantastic. Provided really affordable string lessons for students in the city of Detroit and elsewhere, and helped teachers. It was a lab school, so it helped teachers who were learning how to teach like move along with their students as they got better. So the students that I had my first year were the same students that I had my last year teaching. It's just like they grew with me as I grew as a teacher. It was awesome. I love that format. But very interested in that because it's an amazing program based out of Venezuela, and it's been adapted here in the US. And there are so many amazing initiatives that are providing free music education for students that would not otherwise have them. Sphinx is one of them. I did some student teaching with the Baltimore Symphony Orchids program. I purposely did that because I was like, you know what, I really want to set myself apart from everyone, and I need to get as many experiences as I can to learn what it's like to work with every single different population and every single type of kid. And just again, amazing program that just does some really cool things. I know you know them because of Jill, and again, Mosaic is another program that's doing amazing work in a niche that really needs people like you, because if people like you are not doing the work you do, students who don't look like the normal classical musician would not be in, playing those instruments, unfortunately. Their orchestral instruments are expensive to learn. So it takes people like you and people like me who believe and advocate for that avenue to make sure that people or young people of color can have, or who are disadvantaged have those opportunities. So El Sistema is something that I've just been following and have tried to be involved with and advocate for through my career. Again, I was working with Accent Pontiac. That is an El Sistema program in Pontiac. I continue to do some workshops with other El Sistema programs, and would like to continue doing.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, and I went to Chile and worked with the Global Leaders program there. So that was really amazing.
Wow.
I was working with some other El Sister kids and fans and teaching artists. And I've just, it's really hard right now to think about all of that, because it's like, how are we going to make this? How are we going to find solutions for the problems that already existed, and then on top of all of this? But I think there are a lot of really amazing people that are really smart people that will find ways to make it happen for those kids. So shout out to Accent Pontiac for personally delivering instruments to their students, as well as all the other programs that are doing a really fantastic job of that.
Yeah, that leads me to, I think, my last question for you, which is just why, especially now, because we're, the virus and just tension in the country in so many ways, why do you think the arts and music are so important, especially now?
The arts, music, because those are the things that have been bringing people joy and have been bringing people things to do. So anybody who does not want to support music, remember, like, you are supporting a musician whenever you turn the radio on, or when you watch a movie, or when you put a CD on during while you're cooking or working out. You have to support, first of all, you have to support education and music education. You have to make sure that those students have outlets to express themselves, and it's a way for you to express yourself. I have a couple of adult students, you guys, so it's never too late to learn an instrument, and this might be the time to do that, because you know, it'll give you something to work toward. A lot of people are out of work right now, unfortunately. Some very close friends of mine are not working because you can't work as a freelance musician right now. And I think that we all need to support each other. That's why I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, Larissa. It's like so pioneering of you to be doing something like this, like in an interview, and getting a lot of people connected to some different people that are in the same field as we are. So props to you. High five, air five.
Thank you.
For real,
Yeah.
it's awesome. And what else? I was going to say one really, really cool thing, but honestly, just like supporting music. Buy an album. Like, if you like the music, buy that album and try to support your local musicians. There's some really really amazingly talented people that are local, smaller, lesser known musicians that are doing some phenomenal work and could really use your help. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Natalie, this has been so good. Do you have, to just close out, do you have a way that people can find you and your work? Do you have a website or Facebook pages or anything?
Yes. Just check me out on at nataliefrakes.com. There's a way to get in touch with me there, a little bit about me. And Instagram, I feel like, is where I post everything. So NTLFRKS is just my name without the vowels. And if you want to add me on Facebook, go ahead. I'd love to be your friend. And I'm so glad that everybody is connecting right now in this way and is really like searching within themselves a way to like be peaceful with people, you know, because there's so many crazy things happening right now. So thank you so much, Larissa. You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed our talk, and I will connect with you
For
later.
sure. Let's do it.
But thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.